Welcome to the History Time Travel Network. Our program, Exploring Canadian History, will take us back to the Red River Colony in 1869. Let's join Natalie, our reporter for the day, and ask her why we're traveling back in time to the Red River Colony.
On July 1st, 1867, the provinces of Ontario, Quebec, Nova Scotia, and New Brunswick joined together to form the new country of Canada. This event is called Confederation. The British North America Act, which created Canada, provided for the expansion of the country to include other provinces, so 3 years later, on July 15, 1870, the Red River Colony became Canada's 5th province. It was named Manitoba.
Why did the government want to include the Red River Colony in Canadian Confederation? It was so far away from all the other four provinces.
Prime Minister John A. Macdonald wanted Canada to stretch from the Atlantic Ocean to the Pacific Ocean. In 1867, the United States had purchased Alaska and hoped British Columbia would become part of the country too. To prevent the United States from taking over the West, Macdonald needed to include British Columbia as part of Canada.
Then why didn't British Columbia become the 5th province?
Until a road link was established to connect to the rest of Canada, British Columbia was not willing to become the 5th province. Macdonald had to have this road link. But Rupert's Land, the land between British Columbia and the other provinces, belonged to the Hudson's Bay Company.
The Hudson's Bay Company? Doesn't that company have anything to do with the department stores in Canada today?
Yes, the Hudson's Bay Company has been here in Canada for over 300 years. For the first 200 years, it was a fur trading company and owned the western lands.
Well, I know that British Columbia did eventually become part of Canada, so how did Macdonald get the land he needed to make the road link?
In 1869, after months of negotiating, the Hudson's Bay Company agreed to sell some of their lands to the Canadian government for $1.5 million. The official transfer date was December 1st, 1869, but there was one significant problem with this deal. The Canadian government had purchased these lands without consulting people who lived in the Red River Colony.
What did the people of the Red River Colony do about this?
Our story tonight will answer that very question. We begin on October 11, 1869, on a farm outside Upper Fort Garry in the Red River Colony, where surveyors are marking out the land for lots. Okay, so
this is such a beautiful piece of land. There will be many people in Ontario who would like to settle here.
Yes, you are right, but it's getting very cold. We must finish making our land so we can get back up to Upper Fort Garry.
Look, do you see someone coming?
It's probably just the Métis farmer with his friends who were here yesterday complaining about the surveys.
But who are the Métis people and why are they concerned about our surveys?
They're the descendants of French and Scottish fur traders and Indian mothers. Since the fur trade is not very popular as it once was, their lives have changed. Now they farm and hunt buffalo on these lands. They obviously do not want us here.
My name is Riel. The people have asked me to come and speak on their behalf. What are you doing here?
We are surveying this land for settlement.
But this is Métis land.
What do you mean?
The Métis people own and farm this land.
That is not what we have been told. This land we are surveying is going to be settled with the English settlers from Ontario.
Who sent you here?
The new lieutenant governor of this land, William McDougall, sent us. The Canadian government is buying all of this land from the Hudson's Bay Company.
It is not for sale. You are on Métis land. Our farmers stretch back in long lots from the Red River, just as the farms do along the St. Lawrence River in Quebec.
This is not your land! Take your foot off the surveyor's chain right now!
You will go no further.
With that act of resistance, the conflict between the Red River Colony and Canada. On November 2nd, 1869, Louis Riel, a 25-year-old Métis, and his followers took over Upper Fort Garry without resistance and set up a provisional government. The Canadian government saw this as an unlawful act. In December, the colonists chose Riel to lead them. As head of the new provisional, or temporary government, Riel first met with the people of Red River on December 27, 1869.
Welcome, citizens of the Red River Colony. I'd like to thank all of you for choosing me to head the provisional government here at Upper Fort Garry. You no longer have to be afraid of losing your land. We wish only that the people of the Red River be free to farm and hunt on our own lands.
Free for real.
As many of you know, I was born in St. Boniface, a French-speaking community here at the Red River. Although I studied in Montreal, my heart has always been here with my people in our Métis homeland. We need to protect our land, the land of the Métis and of English-speaking colonists. Even though we have no papers to prove that we own our land, we have lived on our farms for many years. It is our land. My Métis have a strong desire to protect our language, our culture, and our way of life.
What about those surveyors who are here in October?
We have stopped our surveyors by taking matters into our own hands. Here in the lands between the Red River and the Assiniboine River, we are a proud group of 12,000 people, including a French-speaking Métis and people who have came from England and the United States. And in order to negotiate with Canada, we need to work together.
What we gonna do?
Our first step was achieved a few months ago, in early November, when we prevented a newly appointed Lieutenant Governor, William McDougall, from entering the colony. This successfully delayed the Canadian government's plans to take over our land.
What will we do next?
We need to negotiate with MacDonald to guarantee our rights as settlers and landowners. An agreement will protect the future of our colony.
What about the railway? We heard that there will be a railway stretching all the way to the Pacific Ocean.
I know there are rumors that the Canadian government has plans to build a railway right through our buffalo country, but there's no evidence that this is going to happen yet.
Riel was now the most powerful person in the Red River colony. In order to start negotiations with the Canadian government, Riel called a convention of 40 representatives of the settlement, equally divided between English-speaking and French-speaking colonists. We joined Riel and other representatives at Upper Fort Garry on February 10, 1870.
Congratulations on a job well done. We have finally agreed on what we want from the Canadian government.
It's about time we had a list of rights.
The government of Canada did not include us in their discussions with the Hudson's Bay Company for the purchase of Rupert's Land. Now, we must make sure they know what we want from them.
We need to speak up for our rights.
We have discussed the details for 2 weeks. It is time to negotiate directly with Ottawa and Prime Minister John A. Macdonald. Our colony has no desire to become an independent country or to join the United States. We are loyal subjects of the Queen of England who want our rights guaranteed when we join Canada.
Our Bill of Rights must be presented after Langley did, whatever that means, so Prime Minister of Canada as soon as possible.
Yes, the Bill of Rights clearly states that the Red River Colony deserves to enter Confederation as a province. We reserve the right to control our local affairs and to elect 4 members of Parliament to represent us in Ottawa. Both the French and English languages will be used in our schools and law courts. Our customs, traditions, and Métis way of life will be preserved. We also want our Aboriginal brothers and sisters to be able to negotiate treaties with the federal government.
How will we negotiate with the Prime Minister?
We will select some representatives to go to Ottawa.
Louis Riel's provisional government was supported by many people in the Red River colony. However, a small group known as the Canada Party was against him. At Upper Fort Garry, Riel speaks to some colonists about this problem.
The provisional government has decided that Thomas Scott will be executed.
You can't do that. What has he done?
Scott participated in the rebellion against our provisional government. He is a member of the Canadian Party, which is made up of new colonists from Ontario. These people believe that only English-speaking settlers should be in control. They do not respect our Métis way of life.
That's not a reason to execute him.
Scott was tried for treason for rebelling against the provisional government. He also threatened to kill me. A court has sentenced him to death.
This is a big mistake. The English and French have worked together to negotiate Canadian government. The execution of Tom Scott will divide us.
At our convention, we had both English and French representation. You are right, and I promise that the provisional government will continue to work with English settlers.
But why must Scott be executed?
We cannot have rebellion against our provisional government. I will not tolerate it. Thomas Scott was a troublemaker who deserves his punishment.
This will not go over well with the rest of Canada. I believe you will regret this decision.
The government of Canada has to understand that the provisional government of the Red River must be respected. We are in charge of our colony.
On March 4th, 1870, Thomas Scott, a 28-year-old laborer from Ontario, was executed by Métis guards from Riel's provisional government. As a result, there were demands in Ontario for Riel's execution. We now travel to Ottawa, where Prime Minister John A. Macdonald and Secretary of State for the provinces, Joseph Howe, are discussing the negotiations with the Red River colony.
What has Riel done now? His government has executed a colonist from Ontario.
Who was he?
Thomas Scott, a 28-year-old English-speaking laborer.
What are people saying about this execution?
People in Ontario wanted revenge. They are outraged. They demand that Riel should be tried for treason and executing Scott. They call Riel a murderer. There's even a reward of $5,000 for his arrest.
What about Quebec?
Riel is supporting the province of Quebec, where some call him a hero and defending French culture in the colony. They believe the English-speaking rebels who acted against the provincial government in the Red River should be punished for the crime.
This is a crisis. There's conflict in the West, and now we are facing conflict among the provinces.
It is a very difficult situation.
We can't send the military to Red River colony. It's too far to travel quickly. There's no railroad to take our soldiers there. It is also the middle of winter, which makes travel